So usually there's a jaunty little jingle during that video, but I guess Zoom decided we needed a silent film. So I hope we all enjoyed a throwback to the 30s.
I knew we put text on that video for a reason.
Okay, the world of Zoom. So what I'd like to do now is hand the time over to Shaylin Barber, who's our community initiatives manager and has successfully launched this as a virtual program. So Shaylin, it's over to you.
Cool. Thank you, Alex. Hello, and welcome to the 12th Social Investors Forum. I'd like to start by thanking Morgan Stanley for their financial support of this initiative, our esteemed investment committee, our audience, and of course, our 5 finalists. The first Social Investors Forum was held in 2014 with the goal of supporting innovation and sustainability in Utah's nonprofit sector. Through this program, the foundation, in collaboration with the investment committee, has awarded over $600,000 to organizations that promote social good. As you participate in the event today, we encourage you to take the opportunity to learn about evaluating an organization and strategically directing your funding to make the biggest impact. This is something that we work on every day at the Community Foundation of Utah. You will have an opportunity at the end of the event to vote for the Audience Choice Award, which the investment committee will take into account as they make their decisions. The 5 pitches you'll hear today were selected from a highly competitive pool of applicants. We want to highlight the great things these organizations are doing for our community and encourage you to financially support any of the projects you see as compelling. Whether it is $20 or $20,000, these organizations would all appreciate your support. I would also encourage you to support the Social Investors Forum itself so we can grow this pool of funding committed to social sector innovation and award more organizations in the future. We always receive more exciting applications than we are able to fund. Each organization will have 4 minutes to make their pitch, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A with the investment committee. Now, Ian Shellady will introduce our investment committee.
Hi, everyone. Ian Shellady, I'm a director at the Community Foundation. And thanks everybody for joining us. The forum's by far my favorite thing that we do at the Community Foundation every year. So this is one of my favorite days of the year. And I want to do a quick intro for our audience members on who the investment committee members are. We're excited to have everybody. So we have 8 investment committee members with us today. We have Alex Eaton, the Community Foundation of Utah's CEO. We have a few repeat offenders with us who have been investment committee members in the past. Ben Thompson, who's the CEO of Flip and also a board member of the Community Foundation of Utah. We have Gary Kennedy, who's an investor and has a long and storied career in business, most notably the former president of Oracle USA. We have Jackie Elliott, who's a director at Silicon Valley Bank. Cassandra Verbruggen, who's the executive director of SpyHop and a past awardee of the Social Investors Forum. Mark Sidaway, head of client services for Grandeur Peak Global Advisors. Scott Paul, who's the CEO of Wooly. Abby Alder, who's a former associate of Bain & Company, as well as Sorensen Capital. And that wraps it up. So we're very honored for all of them to be spending so much time with us today. Thank you for taking your Friday morning to hear some really cool pitches. With that, I'll pass it back over to Shay.
All right, thank you, Ian, and thank you again to our investment committee. Now I'd like to introduce you to our first finalist, the Salt Lake Community Bail Fund.
Hello. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep, looks great.
I'm just trying to get things organized over here. Okay. Hello, my name is Katie, and today I am representing the Salt Lake Community Bail Fund. Thank you for the time that you have given me to talk to you today. Imagine that this is you, and today you have been arrested. You are innocent under the law, but must await trial incarcerated. This incarceration separates you from your family, your home, your job, and other ties to your community. The impact of this separation can be detrimental to your well-being. And in a pandemic, your physical health in jail is in jeopardy now more than ever. However, there is a path back to your Utah-based community, cash bail. Cash bail is money paid as insurance for your appearance in court. If you can afford your bail, you can bypass this harmful disconnection. But the truth is that Utah's most vulnerable communities cannot. Community is the #1 thing that keeps people out of jail. The Salt Lake Community Bail Fund embodies this idea by crowdsourcing and posting bail for incarcerated individuals who cannot afford it. By bailing someone out of jail, we reinvest them into the lives of their family, job, and community. This can be especially valuable in the communities disproportionately affected by cash bail, including people of color and those experiencing homelessness. A connection to community and simple accountability measures like court reminders can help to ensure that those bailed from our fund appear in court and our funds are returned to us. While sustainably providing community support, the Salt Lake Community Bail Fund concurrently advocates for large systemic changes that will bring an end to cash bail and pretrial detention in Utah. We are working to eradicate the harm caused by pretrial detention systems because innocent until proven guilty should not have a price tag. The Salt Lake Community Bail Fund is the first bail fund in Utah organized to help all people for whom bail is set. We are part of the National Bail Fund Network, an organization that has been working to dismantle the harmful cash bail system across the nation. The community bail fund model has been proven to work by and for communities for years. Utah's bail amounts were exorbitantly high. One of our first requests was for $500,000. While our fund is innovative in that it is a pioneering effort, it also comes at the heels of progressive legislation passed in our state, House Bill 206. This bill encourages judges to evaluate a defendant's ability to pay and doesn't suggest bail over $5,000, a 99% reduction from our $500,000 bail request. Every dollar can have an exponentially larger impact under HB 206, and this allows us to leverage your capital investment effectively. Now is the perfect time to write Utah's chapter of this story. We kindly ask $85,000 from your organization to help us accomplish our goal. In the 2 months that the Salt Lake Community Bail Fund has been active, we have received bail requests that total just over $700,000 and have raised just over $20,000. A grant of $85,000 will push us over the $100,000 mark, a number that most other funds in the National Bail Fund Network use to operate. With HB 206 legislation, this $85,000 has the potential to unshackle many Utahns. The impact of this investment not only touches the lives of the incarcerated individuals, but also their families and everybody in their social orbit. Community healing begins here. By using sustainable financial practices and connecting these people back to their community, we have the opportunity to use this $85,000 perpetually to help as many people as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Looks like our first question will come from Brent Thompson.
Hey, thanks for the info there. Quickly, where do the other organizations that are part of that national organization, the other bail funds, where do they generally get their principal, like the corpus of money that they use to actually pay bail?
I believe that the majority of donations are provided by the community. They're just crowdsourced from individuals.
Okay, so it's donations primarily from sort of grassroots style rather than single family offices or something like that?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you think the total demand is in the state? You've gotten requests for 700 grand. What do you think the total annual amount is?
That's a good question. Hi, my name is Lexi. I also represent the Salt Lake Community Bail Fund, and I'm going to help with the Q&A section. It's been difficult to collect data on what the total bail amount is in the state of Utah. We have seen some numbers from data collection sources that total nearly $16 million. And that's because some bails are set extremely high. But like Katie was saying, the HB 206 bill that's being put forward lowers those bail amounts, increasing our ability to make a larger impact.
Okay, and then last question. I assume that there is a disparity between, the most heinous of accused crimes versus, the run-of-the-mill, possession of marijuana or something like that. Like, what's the standard? Is there a standard amount of bail for the, let's call them lesser accusations?
Sure. So the HB 206 includes a new bail schedule that's related to what judges are using as a risk assessment. And so the risk assessment involves determining a person's past charges and how many other times that they failed to appear in court. And so depending on where they score on that risk assessment, their bail will be reflected. So most bail amounts that we've received in the last month have been $100 or $500, and the highest amount is $5,000 under that matrix. But again, we're lobbying to get rid of those systems entirely because the risk assessment in itself is rooted in sort of the racist and classist foundation of our criminal justice systems. And so we're working to advocate to uproot those systems.
All right, and our next question will be from Cassandra.
Hi there. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more about your sustainability plan. Maybe talk about when the funds come in, how they're deployed, how they're received, or how they're deployed, and then how you are able to continue to leverage any other funds or kind of, a sustainability plan.
Sure, great question. So our organization is entirely volunteer run. So everything that is come in through community donations and through this grant, if we're selected, will be used to post bail. A big part of our sustainability plan is returning bail. So when someone appears in court, their bail that we posted is returned to us. And we're working to ensure that that bail is returned by helping people appear in court. The number one reason why people don't appear in court is simply because they forgot. The court system is incredibly confusing, and the status quo is not that people are dodging the law, but rather that they have to provide childcare or that they are hospitalized at the time. So a big part of our platform is sending out court date reminders and also making sure that every person for whom we post bail has a community advocate. So someone who's working with them to make sure that they have a ride to the court or that they have Zooms installed on their computer during COVID.
Thank you.
Alex, did you have a question?
I have one. This is Jared.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you tell us the money you've raised so far, the 85,000 used last year, what percentage of it went for bail versus office and overhead and administrative expenses? And then can you tell us if anyone has skipped out on any bail that you've provided since your founding?
That's a good question. So we have very minimal administrative costs. Like I said, that we're entirely volunteer run. The money that we don't use for bail, we use for our QuickBooks account. And then we have a lot of donations that support printing costs for other advocacy measures.
Mm-hmm.
As to your second question, we've only been in operation since September 1st of this year. We're a very new organization, which is a big reason why we're reaching out to this investment committee to jumpstart our efforts. So we haven't had anyone miss their court date yet. And a benefit of, we're doing this kind of work right now when we're all teleworking and, technology like Zoom is being more widely used. It's a lot easier to get people to appear in court because they're not physically appearing there. It's a Zoom court
right.
Room, quote unquote.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was just gonna say, like, this is like really important work, and I'm a big advocate of people being paid. Is this the model like across the country? Because how sustainable is it to just be volunteer run? I mean, it's hard work. It seems like you should be paid for it.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is hard work. Almost every bail fund in the National Bail Fund Network starts as volunteer run. And then as more funds are accumulated and the reach for the help that we're able to have grows, then many bail funds have one or two dedicated full-time workers or a larger amount of part-time workers. We, again, are extremely new and are not to that point, but we were born out of an existing organization called Decarcerate Utah, and they have been around for many years and have a slew of dedicated volunteers. We have not had any decrease in the amount of organizers that are working on this effort, and we're building in sustainability practices into our processes so that if we do have turnover in our volunteers, our work can continue on for the foreseeable future.
Thanks. My follow-on question is, like, with such need, how do you choose who to help?
That's a great question. So we have a prioritization scheme built into our review process. So first, the requirement for someone to receive aid from us is that they must be unable to pay bail. They've exhausted all sources of potential bail assistance from their community. And second, that they have a community ally who is willing to submit the request for them. We cannot accept requests directly from people who are incarcerated because they don't have access to any of the web forms that are available online. We also prioritize people who are people of color, LGBTQIA+, immunocompromised, pregnant, or at risk of losing custody of their children, housing, etc. So we're really emphasizing making sure that we provide aid first to people who are most likely to experience violence while incarcerated or other harm to their bodies. And so this process really helps narrow down which requests we will post first. And also currently, because we are so new and because our donation pool is quite small relative to other national bail funds, we have a current cap of posting bail at less than $6,000.
Great, thank you.
Our next question is from Abby Alder.
Yeah, you've alluded to the advocacy efforts of your organization, as well as other donations that you've received. I just wondered, of the total donation pool that you have, or all the funding you receive, what percentage goes towards advocacy versus the actual bail fund itself? Versus, it sounds like operations and administration costs are relatively small, but between those two, the advocacy and the actual bail funding, what's the allocation?
That's a good question. So as of right now, all of our current donation funds are going toward posting bail. Everything that we do advocacy-wise is from volunteer labor hours. And also our parent organization, Decarcerate Utah, has a separate account from which they can raise money to print papers or provide expertise for creating social media campaigns, etc. So really want to emphasize that all of the money that is being received through this Salt Lake Community Bail Fund will be used for bail.
Great, thanks.
All right, and I believe we have time for one more question. Go ahead, Brent Thompson.
Thanks for letting me squeeze another one in at the end here. How do I understand you're very new and welcome to the game. How do the other organizations like yours across the country stay afloat? Do they just require fundraising constantly, or do they have a way of generating revenue? I mean, charging even a $10 fee for posting bail? I mean, or do they solicit donations from either the person who received the bail or their advocacy network, their support network? Is there some way to make the entire operation self-sustaining?
Another great question. Many of the other bail funds in the network rely on monthly donations, so setting up community members who are continually committed to supporting the cause. Many of them also apply for grants, like we're doing right now, but not everyone does. And also, crowdsourcing and fundraising is a sort of central point to any type of grassroots organizing. And they find that building communities around the people who have been bailed out by the fund is a really sustainable way to make sure that people remain involved, and also, do outreach and invite more community members to become, returning donors.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, and next up, we'll have the Moab Free Health Clinic.
Hello. Let me screen share. Good morning, Social Investors Forum Committee. I am Kate Jagla, the Development Director from the Moab Free Health Clinic. Welcome to Moab. Hiking, rafting, climbing, you name it, this outdoor mecca funnels over 3 million visitors yearly through our town of just over 4 square miles. The Moab Free Health Clinic is committed to keeping our essential employees healthy. Due to the seasonal nature of Moab's tourism-based economy, the many low-income residents cannot afford health insurance. In response, the clinic serves those underinsured and uninsured with primary specialty and mental health care, as well as educational and preventative health services. We have many resources in the Moab community, especially through our large nonprofit hub, but we have not connected them in the most efficient way. Most organizations are not even aware of all the services available. To solve this problem, we'll create an online referral management system where all of these different organizations can access and share client information. The system will put all organizations under a single umbrella that will simplify the process for those socially and economically disadvantaged. Remember this phrase, no wrong door. This system will allow any organization to refer a client to another agency without the client having to start over at a new agency. The portal will allow us to address all social determinants of health with very little burden on the client. Individuals fall through the system because they're not connected to resources quickly enough. The referral system will decrease this outcome through immediately connecting individuals with essential resources like healthcare, mental health services, food stamps, housing resources. We need to make health and social services more easily accessible. The Moab Free Health Clinic has a community resource directory website page that has kept the Moab community up to speed about the health and social services available. But this referral management system is the next level. We just don't direct patients to the resource page, we connect them directly to the resource with a concrete appointment date and time. The right team starts with the right people. We will have a dedicated AmeriCorps Vista member working on this project for each year of its development. Let me emphasize that, a dedicated person. Not many organizations can promise their project will be worked on full-time by someone. Through coordinating all Vistas in Moab, the clinic receives ours at no cost. Our executive director also personally knows the organization leaders and community members from his 20+ years working and living as a nurse here. His presence in this project will ensure responsiveness and commitment from collaborating organizations. We are asking for a $30,000 grant investment over the next 3 years. The 3-year grant will go towards our executive director's role in managing the creation of the program, $10,000 for the next 3 years. This investment is small, considering the large return in health benefits for the community and also therefore economic benefits of a healthy working population. As a free safety net clinic, we run on donations and support from the community. Grants are essential to giving life to our programs. No wrong door. This is the goal of our project. Let's make every organization a place where community members can successfully access all health and social services.
Okay, thank you, Kate. All right, do we have any questions from the investment committee?
I have one.
Okay,
Sorry,
go ahead.
I wasn't quick enough on the texting you about it. So if I understand right, the grant would go to offset a portion of the executive director's salary. Is that right?
Yes, it would offset the cost of him managing this program and working with the AmeriCorps Vista towards creating it over the next 3 years.
But the executive director is already employed by by your organization, right?
Yes.
Where does that salary come from currently?
The salary currently comes, we have foundations, grants from community members. We're all based on donations and foundations and all of those types of fundraising.
Okay. Is the executive director's salary in jeopardy if you don't get the grant?
No, it isn't. We also are largely funded by the Utah Department of Health in their primary care grant program, because the health clinic provides mainly primary health care to the community.
Okay. And if you go ahead with this program, is that time that the executive director is dedicating to the program that you're trying to offset with this grant, is that time being taken away from something else the director is doing now that you're going to have to backfill, like hire someone else to take care of while the director is focused on this with part of his time now?
No, our executive director does do some clinical work as he is a nurse, but he would cut back on that and let our care coordinator, who is also a nurse, take over some of those responsibilities.
I guess summing up my string of questions here, what happens if you don't get outside funding for this?
Well, we will look for more funding. If it doesn't happen, we're going to make it happen no matter what.
Okay, that's all I had.
How did you decide how much money you're asking for it? It seems like you could be asking for legitimately asking for $1 and for $100,000. I mean, it seems like there's a big swing in terms of what you might need, and I just want to know if our money would really, maybe this is what Brent was getting at, but if our money would really make a difference to you, and if so, how?
It definitely would make a difference. I mean, I guess it can be considered a small investment as $30,000, but I believe people don't put enough value in people's time as working in these organizations. And I believe the time that he spent on this particular program is definitely worth $10,000 a year for the next 3 years.
Okay.
Kate, I can definitely see the need. There's always this disconnection in all the different providers. How are you going to measure success? Like what does success look like? Is it people served? What's the end goal here?
Well, at first, the success will be in the number of organizations we get together to do this program. But success in the long run, we're looking into, there's actually a place in Oregon called, it's called Rogue Community Health, and they've already, they're in their 3rd year of doing this program. So they're already a model for us. And they have an electronic health record system type software called Lifespan. And it shows like the completed appointments and how all of like the network works together. So it's very easy. You don't really need if there's institutional turnover, it doesn't really matter because there's this system that's already in place and you just need to learn the system.
My last question is, what are the constraints you are under with HIPAA, with confidentiality?
Well, this organization in Oregon, that's one of their main thing is getting an attorney on board, but we already have like one of our largest nonprofits is a hospital, and I mean we also have an attorney, so that would be the software would be put through that as well, and making sure everyone has like we have contracts between each nonprofit and the health department and just everyone involved.
Thanks, Kate.
All right, next up, we have a question from Mark Sidaway.
Hi, thanks. Do you have sort of a case study of like who the typical, or is there anybody, is it typical, is it kind of across the board who kind of receives services there?
Yes, so we are we have a tourism-based economy. So many of the people accessing these social services and health services around here are uninsured or underinsured, and they're the people who work for us doing like hotel work and restaurant work, and that's just our main industry here. So like restaurants don't provide insurance, so they're accessing these other organizations in order to get their needs met.
And do they typically live there, or are they kind of more migrant? They come during the season and then they kind of leave during the winter?
We have both. We have a large base of people who are staying here year round and doing work, but then we do also have that migrant population who comes and goes during the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Next up, we'll have Abby Alder.
Yeah, my question was similar in kind of wanting a case study as to how this referral system would work. So maybe you can give me kind of a tangible example of, what the ideal system looks like, and then my subsequent question is going to be, is there technology that already exists? And it sounds like there is in Oregon that you could just leverage.
Yes, so there is a case study because this Oregon Rogue Community Health organization has already, they already have a model, but it's on a much larger scale than our town, because I feel like it'd be a lot easier for us compared to them. And just considering that they pulled it off as like a large community is saying a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, to clarify, my question is, I'd love a specific example of, Joe from Moab walks into the clinic and has, so you tell me, kind of walk me through how the system would work. I'm assuming it sounds like it's a software system, in which case, is it possible just to leverage an existing system that's already been developed in Oregon and apply it in Moab?
Yes. So one of the systems is this Lifespan software. And so a client would go into any of these organizations and they would work with a person to get registered into the system and decide which social determinants of health they would pick through a list. What do they need? Housing, they need food stamps. There's like a whole list of things that they would choose from. And then based on this list of things, they would get paired with the organization that would fulfill these needs. And then once they are put into those organizations are determined, the referral system the person will help get the person into the organization with an appointment right there and right then. So the person doesn't have to just retell their story, because that could be a difficult part in any setting. No one really wants to tell their story multiple times and they just give up on the system.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you're envisioning as a software system, but it's beyond just electronic health records. It's full kind of community development effort.
Yes.
Interesting. And would it be possible just to buy Lifespan? Or that software, I guess is my question, or to buy something that already exists and just configure it for Moab?
Yes, it would be possible. We would have to do more research on this because we're not sure if that particular one would work well for a smaller community. That's one of the time in creating the program, and also getting everyone on board with picking that particular software.
Gotcha.
All right, and we have time for one more question. Let's take Cassandra's. Hi, Cassandra. I think you might be on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
It was sort of my question, but I guess maybe if you could just talk a little bit more. I'm just confused about what this referral system is, or if what I'm hearing you say is you guys haven't built something yet, but your plan is to use this funds to enable your executive director to work with these other organizations to actually build out some kind of a system, and whether that's a technology-based system like some kind of software, or I'm trying to wrap my brain a little bit around like what does this system really look like, and is it a technology-based? And if it is technology-based, what is the the funding that you would have in place, how are you going to keep that technology-based system, like a software, some kind of software program or whatever, going?
Well, to keep the software program going, it would really be, once we get the software and buy it, it'd really be like negligible resources to keep it going. But we'd hope that one organization, it will probably be the Moab Free Health Clinic, will be managing the system continuously, and we will have the AmeriCorps Vista members the 3 years looking for fundraising opportunities for this program.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much to Moab Free Health Clinic.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing.
Hi, I'm trying to share. Oh, there we go. Says someone else is sharing.
Hey, Kate, if we could have you stop sharing, that would be great. Thank you.
Everybody see this okay?
Looks good, thanks.
Great. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me this morning. My name is Rob Roque. I'm the Director of Business and Resource Development for Salt Lake Neighborhood Housing Services, NeighborWorks Salt Lake. We're a 43-year-old nonprofit that specializes in comprehensive community revitalization, and I'm here to pitch the value of a mentorship for my organization and the Resilient Homeownership Fund. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone, not the least of which is homeowners. Between earthquakes, hurricanes, and an ongoing pandemic, income has been lost, houses have been damaged, critical repairs have been neglected, and a new home improvement needs have arisen. We're an experienced lender, we're a developer, a project manager. With funding, I believe we can create a revolving loan fund that can provide zero interest home improvement loans to low to moderate income households. The Resilient Homeownership Fund will address key needs, create significant impact, and will be relatively sustainable on a long enough timeline through principal repayment. That's fine, but what I want is a robust long-term program design that generates investment based on community impact rather than a financial gain from the loans themselves. So who has money already allocated in their budget that they need to donate back into innovative community impact programs? Utah banks looking to fulfill CRA obligations. The FDIC regulates 35 state chartered banks in Utah with over 350 million in assets. That's not even counting the national ILCs that are headquartered here, and all of them have a CRA investment requirement. They need to get funds into the hands of experienced organizations who can leverage the investment into a demonstrable community impact, and I want them to choose the Resilient Homeownership Fund. That's where you come into play. I'm a great grant writer. I know CRA, but I'm not an expert. This program and the organization as a whole would benefit greatly from a year-long mentorship from an expert in the Community Reinvestment Act that can help us tailor the design of this program to check every box for ILC, CRA specialists, and regulators they will be answering to. Someone who knows both these groups wants to hear and how the Resilient Homeownership Fund can echo the true intent of the law, giving back to the community we all serve. As part of the development of this program, NeighborWorks Salt Lake and my department specifically will gain a value and insight and perspective from a CRA specialist, and we can benefit the community, that can show us how we can benefit the community best, and what changes we should anticipate with CRA modernization, and how evaluation criteria may impact organizations in Utah for better or worse. Thank you. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Rob. Do we have any questions from, oh, looks like we have a question from Mark. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks. So have you identified somebody, a mentor, or do you have to kind of go out and find this mentor and then get them on board? Or so the grant you're asking for is in order to pay for this mentor, a year-long mentorship, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry.
I would just add, Mark, typically we get volunteer mentors. Sometimes they're committee members like this, or just people we know in the community. And we have different like HBS alumni groups that offer mentorship. So sorry, this is the first time you're doing this, but this is one of the things they can ask for is like a grant, a loan, or mentorship.
Great. Okay, got it.
So I have a question, Rob. You know, as I said, I'm an advocate of people getting paid. Instead of 0%, in terms of sustainability, wouldn't it make sense to charge just a sub market rate to pay for the infrastructure to facilitate these loans? Or I don't know, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think that 0% is an ideal based off of the type of applicants that we would expect to fall into a less than 80% AMI income bracket. That being said, we provide low interest loans currently. And so that's a possibility. We have a multi-tiered level loan program right now. We would kind of fit based on the income of where someone fits best. And it could be too that a CRA expert would come back and be like, do 1%, Rob, come on. And that's going to be more appealing to a industrial loan bank to be like some return, even though the crux of the program is not that income from off of the borrower, if that makes sense. But I think that I'd be open to the idea.
And then my other question is always like, how do you choose? There's so much need. How do you select applicants?
Well, I think first and foremost, in this particular case, we're looking for people that can't afford it. We would underwrite any applicant just like anybody else. The communities that we tend to serve are underserved populations. They tend to be populations with people of color, populations with lower income, populations that are challenged in a myriad of different ways. And so I like to think, I mean, there's always a risk that there's not going to be enough money in that pool. In a way that motivates me too to ask for more money from these banks, from the other donors the next year. If you can demonstrate that need, you know, it's kind of a good problem to have because it means that there's a reason to ask for more money.
Thanks, Rob.
All right, looks like we have a question from Brent.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. My question, it might be what you're actually trying to get from a mentor who's an expert at the CRA stuff. Like, how much of your total annual budget do you think could be covered by CRA dollars? Is it reasonable to hope for 100% coverage there?
For the organization or for the program?
Let's call it just the principal for the loans.
For the loans, I mean, what I've got right now for this particular loan fund, I'm asking for $100,000. We got $100,000 from Morgan Stanley last year. And now that amount could increase. I think the short answer to your question is absolutely. I like the idea that it would just be a CRA funded fund. And I think that's appealing too, with my limited knowledge of CRA, that's appealing too, because then it allows multiple banks going in for the same thing, the same ideas coming out of it. We can do the calculations the same way. So I would say yes, but you know, if it's more popular and banks are willing to fund here, then we would leverage, you know, other dollars into that fund as well. We can pivot based off of what that need is.
Okay, thanks. And then follow up, do you have data on like your loss rates? Like for every dollar that you give out, how much on average do you get back?
Yeah, so we have about a 1%, maybe 2% delinquency rate in 2020, which is, I think, pretty impressive. We do a lot to work with any of our borrowers. We are a bank, but we are a very non-traditional bank in that we're really looking for our borrowers to succeed. Our bottom line is not stockholders, it's stakeholders. And so we do everything. I mean, we have a myriad of programs to support folks to make sure that they succeed. And that's kind of what you're seeing with the 1%, 2%.
Yeah, so then back to what Alex was asking before. So you effectively have a negative interest rate that you're lending at because if you're charging zero and then you have a non-zero loss rate.
Right.
How can you structure it in a way to be self-sustaining over the long term?
That's interesting. And I think that's part of the reason. I think that the appeal to investing in this forum, or excuse me, investing in this program is really that community impact. On a long-term scale, if it's just relying on principal repayment, it's not. It's going to piddle out. And that's not necessarily the basis of this program. The basis of the program is how to make it appealing to be a long-term program that is appealing to people that want to invest into programs like this, where the return isn't how much principal repayment came back, how much interest was generated off of. The return is what's the level of impact you created with the money that came into the program.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we have a question. Cassandra?
Hi, yeah, so I guess I'm a little confused. I'm trying to figure out, so you are applying for $40,000. But from your application, I didn't quite understand the mentorship piece. So what will you use the $40,000 for versus, I mean, I understand the interest in finding a mentor that can help you kind of really, hone in on your program and make it as effective as possible. But maybe tell us a little bit more about like what you actually will use the $40,000 for then.
Oh yeah, so just some clarification. When I originally applied for this grant originally, I applied to have funds directly for the fund itself. So if you're looking at the original application, you're looking at $40,000 that I wanted to use as the initial seed money to create this fund. What the presentation you just heard, after the initial feedback I got was, this maybe you would benefit more from having a mentorship to develop the idea of the program. So that number that you're looking at in the application is a number I threw out for the fund itself. Now that would be me going and asking a industrial loan bank to give me $40,000, $100,000, whatever.
Ah, okay, thank you. I was very confused about that, but I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thanks. Next question comes from Jackie Elliott.
Sorry, I was still on mute. Okay, so a couple of questions. One, how do people who need this service find you? Grew up in Salt, never knew about this, so.
Oh, well, and one part is they send their staff members out to do a bunch of forums like this. But the answer is marketing and building partnerships in the community. And it's frustrating to me how little we're known for as long as we've been around. And that's always something we work on to spread and get out to more communities. But we do a lot of marketing, and we do even more now than ever, in part because of the virtual element of everybody's lives. It's easier and there's no excuse. But just like any other bank would advertise their loans, really. I mean, we are a bank for all intents and purposes.
Okay, so is that online advertising? Is that marketing towards neighborhoods where it would likely apply?
Yes, it's a little more complicated than that. There are definitely some neighborhoods that we target particularly. We're based out of the west side of Salt Lake City. We serve all Salt Lake County, but we spend a significant amount of time trying to gauge where community need is. And that's actually part of what this mentor could help us do too, is we crunch numbers. Every year we update our community needs assessment, figure out where people would need a home improvement loan, where the income's dipping, where people are losing their jobs most from COVID. And we design not only our community needs assessment, which we send out to those banks, but we use that to guide our marketing strategy throughout the year.
Okay, and then just one more quick question. With 100K, it would help on, what's the estimate of how many homes or families that would help?
If it was just $100,000, major home improvements are anywhere from 15 to 25. If you got to redo a large roof, it could be smaller than that. And we'll get some between in the 5 to 10 range, but you're looking at somewhere between anywhere from 4 to 20 people with $100,000. And that's just an initial estimate for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks so much.
All right, we have time for one more question. So go ahead, Abigail Alder.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of a follow-up to that last question of, I was curious as to what you think the addressable market size is. So what is the full community demand? So if you're thinking about, an estimate for addressable market size, how large is the community demand, and what percentage of that are you guys able to serve currently, and what percentage, do you anticipate as you scale and grow with this new program?
Demand is high. We've seen a marked increase actually this year, in part because people are at their houses more and people are putting more wear on their houses. And we've had natural disasters literally pull people's houses apart, and people's living situation has changed. Mom has to come live at the house now, so we need to make an adaptation. Demand's gone up. Really what we're seeing when we're unable to help somebody, it right now is often a limit by geography. And it means because we don't have funds dedicated from it. every fund that we get in is in some way restricted, and sometimes it's by geography. Right now, home improvement funds, that's the case. So I could go do a home improvement loan or a grant in Sandy City that I may not be able to do in West Valley City. So I've got customers right now. I have a customer whose plumbing is destroyed in West Valley City. We're trying to figure out how do we fund this repair for somebody who's at 28% AMI. And so we know the demand is there.
Yeah, sorry, my question wasn't if the demand is there, but more a sense of, what your current capacity is relative to that demand.
Well, our current capacity for 0% loans is, we don't do them right now. I guess I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. We provide tons of loans currently, and we'll continue to do so whether or not we get this mentorship. We maintain a large cash pool for the organization, but we fund loans through local CDBG funds from Salt Lake City, from Sandy City, from Salt Lake County. We have a large capacity to do loans like this. It just depends on what restrictions are tied to each cash pool that we're drawing from.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Rob.
Thank you.
All right, and up next, we'll have Science Moab.
All right. Get this up. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Christina Young. I am the founder and executive director of Science Moab, and I am so thrilled to be here to tell you about our organization and the exciting new programming that we're developing. So you might not know this, but Southeast Utah is actually an internationally recognized hotspot for scientific research. Scientists from around the world are coming here to study this incredible place. But at the same time, it's also a place that has extensive intergenerational poverty and a struggling education system. And so we saw a need to make sure that the local community here could benefit educationally and economically from all the amazing science that was happening. And nowhere was this need more apparent than in our schools. Science education can increase college readiness, and science careers come with considerable long-term economic benefits that students are currently missing out on here in Southeast Utah. And so we are so excited to be creating the School to Science program to change that. This program pairs Grand County High School students with local and visiting scientists to participate in science internships and job shadowing opportunities. Students get the chance to work one-on-one with scientists in the laboratory and in the field to get research experience and a head start towards exciting and often lucrative scientific careers. The program utilizes the already existing career and technical education program at the high school to provide students with academic credit while they get to work one-on-one with a scientist of their choosing. And Science Moab will use our wide network of science connections to recruit and maintain scientists to participate in this program. And to sustain this program in the long term, we're actually using a pretty innovative structure. We're going to work with scientists to include a line item for the School to Science program in research grant applications as broader impacts that are required by many granting organizations such as the National Science Foundation. And so this is how we're going to fund the program in the long term, and this will include the program director's salary. And currently, there are already 2 grant proposals that have included the School to Science program in them, so we're really excited about that. But before we can really launch this program and get it off the ground, we need an investment from people like you who see the value in investing in career training and science education in rural Utah. We're requesting a grant of $35,000 to fund the first year of this program so that the program director can build this framework with scientists to make the program financially stable over the long term. And we're so excited because we see this program as an incredible opportunity to serve Southeast Utah and where we can really do the most long-term good for our community. And we believe we're going to be able to see that good in the metrics that we measure. So we're going to track the number of students participating in this program and quantify students' increase in science knowledge and career readiness, while also gathering long-term metrics of academic and economic outcomes relative to the rest of Grand County. And we believe this program can help build a stronger scientific legacy for this region. That includes not just scientists, but the entire community. So we can't thank you enough for the opportunity to share with you our visions for this region, and we're really excited to work with you to uplift communities in Southeast Utah through science. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Christina. Looks like we have a question from Mark.
I'm sorry, this is an ignorant question. How long has your organization been up and running?
We're a new organization, so we incorporated in 2019, but we've been providing education and outreach since 2017. So we do a lot of other community events and outreach, and we've been doing that for the last 3 years, and we became our own organization just within the last year.
Great, thank you.
I'm curious how you coordinate with the schools and like existing science education. How does that, work together?
Totally, it's a great question. So we have been in contact with the woman who heads the career and technical education program at the high school. And so we're liaisoning through her, and she's connecting us with the scientists, with the science teachers at the school. And so the science teachers are on board to look out for students who are especially interested in science and who might, want to take part in this program and benefit from everything that it offers. And they're connecting us with those students through the CTE program, and then also students that are enrolled in the CTE program can have the opportunity to work in this with the scientists. Does that make sense what I just said?
Yeah, and then just with the whole equity and inclusion piece, like, are you also looking to broaden that so you get students that aren't just the normal students in science?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's actually pretty cool because Science Moab, as an organization, is becoming more well known in the community, and we're working to really get the word out to make sure that everybody knows about Science Moab and the opportunities. And we're trying to make it fun and something that kids will want to be a part of. And so we're not just targeting, we're not just going for kids in science classes. We're really making sure that people know, the students know about this, can take part in other kind of science programming that we offer that's fun and community oriented, and really try to get more students engaged with the landscape around them and help trying to understand it.
That's great. My last question is, one thing I've always loved about Moab is how collaborative you guys are, how you work really closely together. Are there other organizations, nonprofits that are doing similar things that you're coordinating with, or is there an opportunity there?
Yeah, it's great. So as you know, Moab has a ton of amazing nonprofits, and so we are working with Wabi Sabi. We actually just applied to be their community partner. So we're in the running for this coming year. And then CFI, the Canyonlands Field Institute, does a lot of science education things. So we're in conversation with them now about how we can do more overlap. Nobody provides exactly what we're talking about, and we feel that we are kind of unique because of our connections that we've built and who's a part of this organization. We can provide something unique, but there's a lot of overlap that we're currently exploring with other organizations.
Thanks, Christina.
Okay, thank you. Let's take a question from Brent next.
Hey, thanks, Christina. You noted in your presentation that 31,500 was earmarked for a salary, basically, for someone for that first year. What happens the second year?
Yeah.
I don't suspect that you expect being profitable by month 12. So what happens the second year?
Yeah, can you still see my PowerPoint? Or if I stop sharing it, you can still see it. Okay, so yeah, it's a great question. And so we already have 2 grants, like I said, in application for $15,000 for scientists that they've written in. And we have this huge connection of scientists that we actually do think we can make a considerable amount of money by 2022 to keep this program sustainable. And also that $35,000 is a part-time salary. And the person we actually have an educator in town who's excited to be the program director with this program. And so we're all volunteer now. And as it's been said multiple times, we need to move away from that structure. And so we're working towards a kind of a part-time model. And then we do think that we can raise that amount of money through grants over the next year. And can we put in, what that would really need to look like to sustain this program in the long term. So, kind of $10,000 is the average in a large NSF grant is the amount that can be included for these broader impacts. And so percent funding, the success rate for these grants is about 36%. And so we need to have scientists submit about 14 of these grants a year, which is actually quite doable with our network. We have an incredible network of scientists. And as I said, so many people come to this region, and scientists would really benefit from writing this program into their broader impacts. It makes them look good and it increases their chances of getting funded.
So I love this pipeline slide that you're showing right now. Like I would suggest working that into your main presentation.
Awesome. Thanks for that feedback.
Okay, thanks. Let's take a question from Cassandra next.
Hi, Christina. I was just curious, how are you running this program? How is this working under COVID? And what are your plans as the pandemic continues on?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so our schools are in person here in Moab. The cool thing about a lot of the science that happens here is it's actually in the field. And so there's a lot of opportunity for students this coming spring where we have like 3 scientists who have expressed interest to be a part of this program this coming spring trimester, and all those scientists do field work. And so there's the opportunity to, get kids out into the field doing science with masks and socially distant, but still being able to participate in this program.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Jackie.
Hi, sorry, I lost sound for a minute, so this may have already been discussed, but oftentimes by high school, you've kind of already lost the kids' interest in science, particularly with females. So just curious as to how, if possible, you can't be everything to everyone, but how are you making younger kids aware of this? As they enter high school, it's something that they'd be interested in?
It's a great question. Kind of like I kind of mentioned this before, but I'll definitely elaborate. We kind of make science cool. Like, I don't want to brag, but like the events that we put on that are community oriented and that a lot of people are learning about, we do it in a way that is really place-based and exciting. And so more and more people are learning about Science Moab, more parents are learning about Science Moab. And then, we're just always expanding our programming. So currently we don't have any programming aimed at younger generation to kind of get them in, get them into this program for the long term, but it's a important direction that we would like to go in to figure out, with this program director, how we can market to, for lack of a better word, to younger kids to, let them know about this opportunity, because it really could be life-changing. It has for me, the opportunity that I got to work with scientists has led me to, about to finish my PhD in ecology and evolutionary biology. So it's impactful.
What's the competitive advantage for Moab and specifically your foundation? I mean, you talk about winning 36% of the grants. Obviously, that means that you win 100% a few of them and 0% of the others. But what would it take? I mean, do you have a competitive advantage? And if so, what is it? And what would it take to get an advantage so that you're up to winning half of the grants? Or, I mean, it seems to me, if you're bidding characteristics that are unique to Moab and that area, that you ought to have an ability to win at least half of your projects if you know what the competitive advantage is and you know how to use it in a grant.
Totally. It's a great question. And I might need to clarify a little bit and apologize if I wasn't clear. So the grants are actually going to be submitted by the scientists. So these are scientists who are doing research.
I get
okay.
I get that, but I mean, they don't know anything about competitive advantage. And maybe one of the reasons for dealing with an organization like yours is that you could provide help to them on competitive advantage.
Totally. I mean, I think this program offers them a competitive advantage, and I will keep track of those metrics to see if the grants that include Science Moab and the School to Science program will actually get funded more often than the other grants. The scientists are always trying to figure out how to make this broader impact and how to sell it to the granting committee. And I think, yeah, we could do that for the scientists, and it could even bring even more scientists to Moab, which is another exciting outcome of this program. Is it makes more scientists want to come here.
All right, thank you so much, Christina. I think that's all of our questions.
Thank you all.
All right, and next up we'll have Playworks. Hi, Chris.
Good morning. My name is Chris Conard, and I am the Executive Director of Playworks Utah, and I am so delighted to be included this morning on the Social Investors Forum. At Playworks, we believe in the power of play to bring out the best in every kid. We are the industry leader helping children experience and apply social and emotional skills through safe and healthy play at elementary schools. Over the last 4 years, we have significantly changed the way kids are playing in our elementary schools by leveraging growth strategies aimed at expanding our direct service programming, increasing professional development for school staff, launching Playworks U, our online education platform for educators, and forming strategic alliances with school districts and inspiring partner networks through state action on Board of Education recess guidelines. And now, Playworks aspires to raise the bar. We have experienced a 5x growth rate in the adoption of Playworks methodologies and resources in just the last 4 years alone. Our program menu includes direct service, consultation, professional development, online platforms, and do-it-yourself resources. And we've even been able to innovate around virtual and remote services during the time of COVID. This means that more schools are accessing safe and healthy play as a tool for social and emotional skills development. And while access to safe and healthy play is important, we recognize that the quality of play really matters. Playworks has created the only externally validated tool for measuring the quality of play at recess. We call it the Great Recess Framework. Recent research has shown that outcomes related to the improvement of executive function, classroom behavior, resilience, and emotional self-control all strongly correlated to the measure of quality play at recess. And these social and emotional skills are directly tied to long-term adult success. The problem we face is many schools in our state are not delivering at a high enough quality of play to see measurable outcomes in social and emotional skills development. With our school partners' help, we have identified there are experience gaps, preventing schools who are self-implementing Playworks to improve quality. The difference in quality is related to having access to an expert. Today, I'm seeking a $20,000 investment to implement the Partner Experience Manager role. This new role is focused on scaling the quality of safe and healthy play, which in turn produces meaningful outcomes for children. The Partner Experience Manager will deliver customer success practices to schools that are engaging in Playworks through online resources or professional development partnerships. They will inspire school staff, equip them with resources they need for high quality play, and then support them from the very first time they access Playworks online resources, all in an effort to normalize a high level of safe play and healthy play in a school community. By instilling a partnership-first relationship strategy with schools, we can effectively learn more about each school partner and how best to support them. We can also develop a robust pipeline for sustained partnerships that convert to a Playworks fee-for-service model. The Partner Experience Manager is directly tied to earned income for our organization through the sale of professional development contracts and further consulting partnerships. As a result of this strategy, the amount of earned income in our budget will increase without a rise in total investment. We believe the capacity for this position is about 150 schools or about $200,000 in annual reoccurring revenue. With that volume, we will then be able to invest in future goals to meet the demand. Now is the time to foster continuous improvement partnerships that extend ahead of the formal school contract. The addition of the Partner Experience Manager not only is a catalyst for earned income, but also integral in moving the needle on the quality of play in any school, anywhere.
Just can't wait to see where we go in the future.
And we need you
to make it
happen. High five.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, do we have any questions from the investment committee?
I have a question, Chris.
Mhm.
Where did you come up with the 20,000 first? And how can you retain anyone for 20,000?
Yeah, so the 20,000 is, hold on, I don't know if I can go back to my slide of the finances, but this 20,000 is not the all-in. So the all-in expense on the finance slide here is the red. Total cost of the position, including salary, benefits, and SG&A support, comes out to about 76,000. Currently this year, we have about $51,000 in contracts already secured. So the additional 20,000 is a catalytic investment to get us off the ground in year one. We believe that by developing really strong partnerships with schools that are accessing our lightest touch services, that grows the pipeline to convert to that fee-for-service model in years 2, 3, and 4.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. We'll take a question from Brent next.
Thanks. Hey, Chris. Related to what Alex was asking about, have you done any outreach? Have you tried selling this basically to those potential customers? Ask them to pay you money now for the services you have in mind, just to get a feel for what, how successful you'll be at generating that revenue that you expect.
Yeah, we have been selling professional development contracts and consulting here in Utah with schools for the last 5 or 6 years. And so we have a business already going on that. What we realized was, and then also before I get there, in the last 4 years, under our expansion strategy about access to safe and healthy play, we were able to launch a lot of online resources and evaluative tools so that schools could implement safe and healthy play on their own. So what we're seeing is that schools are accessing those resources online and trying to do it yourself, but when they hit roadblocks or barriers, the quality of safe and healthy play needle.
Can I jump in? Sorry, I just want to take a ton of time. I understand and appreciate all of that, but what you're really doing is launching a new product. And even if you've shown that you can sell things to these customers, have you tried selling this product for money to these customers?
Yeah, so this is not a product, it's a person and a role. And what this person will do is cultivate the partnership relationship ahead, and so teeing up the fee-for-service models that we currently have. So the more we know about a school and their roadblocks, we can then suggest a professional development product that meets their need, or a further direct service that gets the quality much more strong in a school.
Okay,
great, thank you. All right, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, thanks. So are you going school by school, or are you going to like the school district and then contracting for all the schools within the district?
We currently do both. So this year we're partnering with 10 different school districts. Some of them are district-wide partnerships where every school in the district either has a direct service or a consultative service. We have some districts that are entirely our professional development services as well. So it's a little bit of both. It really depends on how a district is structured and who those decision makers are in each different district.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have Cassandra.
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
Question for you. So can you tell us a little bit about your funding model, sort of earned income versus, your grants and contributions? And then how has the COVID pandemic impacted your funding model? And then how, you would see this person working, with the schools during this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our funding model currently as it stands is a little over 50% is earned income from school fees and professional development contracts. We have an AmeriCorps grant that works in our direct service programming that provides about 12% of our budget, and the rest we fundraise. through grants, donations, and so forth. What we see is, and we've been on a trajectory over the last 4 years, we've taken that earned income percentage from 40% up to a little over 50. And what we anticipate is with this customer success model ahead of partnership, we can elevate earned income as a percentage of budget from a little over 50% into the 60% range, which creates a stronger financial sustainability. During the time of COVID, we have adapted and shifted and actually have developed new products to help meet the demand of remote learning and virtual learning. Here in the state of Utah, though, almost every district except Salt Lake City School District is in person. And this role has been working with partners in person, as well as connecting virtually to remote schools as well.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions from the investment committee?
Going on.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Chris.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, next up, we'll be having the Audience Choice Awards. So let me just start that poll. Audience, feel free to chime in. We'll just give it a couple of minutes for those results to come on through. All right, I think we have a few folks who haven't answered, but I'm not seeing any more answers coming in. So I'll just give it a couple more seconds and then we have our Audience Choice Award.
Are we supposed to, Gary Kennedy, are we supposed to vote in the poll you gave us?
Thanks for asking, Gary. You're more than welcome to vote in the poll, but we'll be adjourning to a separate Zoom call as the investment committee to deliberate.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and end that poll now. And congratulations, Playworks. You are the Audience Choice Award for SIF Fall 2020.
Wow, thank you. Thanks, audience. I don't know if I'm supposed to give a speech, but thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Alex to give a quick thank you.
Yeah, so I just want to thank our finalists for their great pitches. It's so inspiring, the work you do in our community. And thank you to Morgan Stanley for your financial support of this initiative since the inception. And thank you to the investment committee for your time and expertise. Just fun to be here. Shay, why don't I let you kind of round it out?
Perfect, will do. All right, well, first of all, I'd like to thank our finalists so much for your pitches. I really enjoyed the event. Thank you, of course, to Morgan Stanley for your financial support. And thank you to our investment committee for your time and expertise. Last but not least, thank you to our audience and our attendees who joined us today. We could not do this without any of you. So again, our profound thank yous. If you enjoyed attending this event, we welcome you to make a donation either to the Social Investors Forum itself or to any of our 5 finalists directly. Now, our investment committee will adjourn to a separate call for discussion, and we will announce the awardees via our website and social media. So thank you so much for coming.
And Shay, thank you for leading this whole thing. Good job.
Thanks, Alex.
You. Shay, will you put the link in the chat, but will you email it out to everybody too?
Will do. I'll be emailing it out right now.
And investment committee, feel free to take, if you need a stretch bathroom break, now would be the time.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Investment committee, we'll see you on the other call.